think that as a young player, you always aspire to be considered one of the best at what you do. And having the opportunity to be on the same stage with the guys that you've admired from a distance, guys that you've watched growing up, that was really, really rewarding for me, because at that point it meant that I had made it. And for me, making it meant that now you got to really, really work if you want to stay in that class of people. And it was just a great experience. The first one was Montreal in I think it was 1980. And
let me check your math.
Walking into the locker room for the first time and having a chance to listen to guys that I admire. Pete Rose was one of those guys and the veterans got up and spoke. And they spoke about how important it was to show our dominance as a league and how much better we were than the American League.
Because they'd won like 7 in a row at that point.
Yeah,
or something like
we took a lot of pride in the All-Star game, and I've always considered it an honor when people take their time to punch my name on the ballot. I felt that I had a responsibility. I'm not going to say just me, but I think guys from my generation felt that we had a responsibility to go out there and play to the best of our ability and put on the best show that we could. And that's the way we approached it. I was just with Cal Ripken and Eddie Murray here not too long ago, and we had a conversation about how important it was for us when our name was punched on a ballot to go out and play to the best of our ability and try and be as consistent as you possibly could as a baseball player. And if you do that and you approach it that way, then one day you can say that you're a Hall of Famer. And I think that's what it was all about.
And I think people appreciated you going out and giving your best. This being a little bit of evidence of that.
It's what I talk to young kids about. Yeah, thank you. It's what I talk to young kids about. Whatever it is you choose to do in your life, work hard and try and be the very best at it. And no success comes without some blood, some sweat, and some tears. And for all of us that today are in the Hall of Fame, there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for all of us.
And there was a lot of misses and mistakes.
Oh yeah, a lot of mistakes along the way, but you learn from them. That's part of the process. And as a player, you try not to make the same mistake over and over. You got to learn from it, move on, and take that step, and hopefully the next step will put you in a better place.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. And so who were the people when you were young that you were like, oh, this guy's here? But you said Pete Rose.
Well, you know what? I grew up in Southern California. And I was a Dodger fan growing up. So I used to catch the Wow. It's just baseball now.
Yeah, exactly. We're here to celebrate all of it. Yeah.
This is baseball love here. But I used to catch the bus out to Dodger Stadium and sit out in the bleachers. And I used to think that fence out there was so tall, and until we started playing, then that fence got real short, especially when they were hitting. It was one of those things where I had a chance to see Koufax and Drysdale, Junior Gilliam, Willie Davis. It was what I did. I really enjoyed watching a player by the name of Roberto Clemente when the Pirates came to town, who you could never pattern yourself behind him, but the type of energy and stuff that he brought to the game was what inspired me. When he was running with his hat was flying off, his feet were going all over the place, and then there was that back in the day we used to have what we called a hook slide, where you kind of slide and you grab the bag, or you grab it with your toe going by, and that's all gone now to the pop-up slide and all of that. But that was fun for me when I was growing up to have the chance to go out to Dodger Stadium and watch great players come into town.
Absolutely. And you were honored by winning the Roberto Clemente award at one point in time.
Well, that was one of the things too that my mom always stressed to me, was that it was important to give back. So it was with that idea that, at some point in time when I got myself in a position that it was important to give back, because really that's where your blessings come.
Right. Absolutely. Very important. And Dave Winfield was one of those early pioneers as well.
Those guys who I had the opportunity to learn from. My first year in San Diego here, I had Dave Winfield. I played with Dave Winfield. I played with Gaylord Perry, who, by the way, at the age of 39, I think he won the Cy Young Award that year. I played with Raleigh Fingers. Who else did I play with? I played with Rupert Jones. I played with Gene Richards. George Hendrick was here.
They're gonna.
Gene Tennis, Randy Jones, so I had a chance to learn from some good guys, and I know this question is probably going to come up. One day in spring training after we had worked out, we had to run 2 miles, and I didn't like running, especially long distance.
Right. Only when chased.
Yeah, when I was chased. But the guys were giving me a hard time about being a young guy and being at the back of the pack. I grew up across the street from a wood factory, and I used to go out and tumble in the sawdust all the time. That's how I learned to tumble and dare as a kid. I dare you. You can't do that. Jumping over picket fences and all that stuff. Right. How stupid we were. But anyway, Gene Tennis had girls that were into gymnastics, and after I did my round-off backflip to show them I wasn't tired, he said, I'd love for my girls to see you do that. Well, I couldn't do it during the season, so Fan Appreciation Day, which was the last day of the season, they asked me to do it going out to my position. And back then, the entertainment in San Diego was always the chicken.
Yes.
And I didn't want to try and step on the toes of the chicken.
Right.
So I was a little reluctant to do it, but after a little coercion, I did it, and people loved it so much they asked me to do it opening day the following year, and it became my trademark.
That's right. Careful what you do well, because they're going to ask you to do it again.
And I never failed. Yeah. People ask me, did I ever not make it? No, I always made it, but it got lower and lower through the years. Lost that spring.
Yes. That happens. Father Time catches up with all of
but
us.
I tell you, AstroTurf really helped too, though.
Yes.
There's a lot more spring on that AstroTurf than regular grass.
Absolutely. Well, as you can tell, and having some support from the older San Diego Padres fans, talk about the early days coming up into the Padres and what it was like for you to play with those guys. And
well, it was my beginning. It was where I got started. It was the opportunity, the organization that gave me the opportunity, the opportunity that I was looking for, and I got drafted in 1976 by the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers offered me $8,500. I'd finished 3 years of my schooling, and I told my mom I was going to get my education. And so I went back to them. I was playing in a little small town called Clarinda, Iowa, where I played my semi-pro baseball. Clarinda, Iowa? I played back there for 2 years, and I got drafted as a junior by the Detroit Tigers. Well, they offered me $8,500, and I felt if they didn't give me 10 grand, they weren't going to take a real good look at me. And it was the same year they drafted Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker, and they had a bus ticket for me to Lakeland, Florida. And I asked them for the other $1,500. They say it wasn't in the budget, so I went back to school in hopes of getting drafted again my senior year, which I did by the San Diego Padres. And I'm a good businessman. I signed for $5,000 and a bus ticket to Walla Walla, Washington.
Kids, pay attention to him.
So we're not all bonus babies.
Right. Although 5,000 is a little bit more back than it is,
It allowed me to get myself a decent car, so it was cool.
And you had your education, which,
That's right,
as we all know,
exactly.
is priceless.
And that's what I share with all the young people, that, if you're not going to be one of those bonus babies, it's important to get your education, because that's something that you'll be able to take with you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Very, very important.
Absolutely. So you were with the Padres for a couple years. We could talk about what happened. We could not talk about what happened. But you made your way over to St. Louis Cardinals, and used the bulk of your career there.
Actually, I got drafted by probably one of the most talented guys to ever put on a pair of spikes. A guy by the name of Gary Templeton, who, by the way, I played golf with on Saturday.
Great.
And it, there's a lot of pressure that goes along, especially when you're noted as a defensive player and you get traded for a true 5'2" player. There's a lot of pressure on you to be able to perform, and the one thing that I had to battle against was trying to be something that I was not. I was not a Gary Templeton, but the things that I did fairly well. I see a Cal Poly Mustang bag back there.
There it is.
Cal Poly, yeah. But that was the thing that I had to battle, trying to be something that I wasn't. So when I went over to St. Louis, and trust me, we all have questions about our abilities.
Sure.
Whether or not we're as good as we think we are.
Right.
And certainly getting traded for a player like that, going over to St. Louis, to an organization that was rich in tradition, who they noted for winning, and and stuff.
Whitey Herzog at the helm.
At the helm at that time, and that was a lot of pressure for me to go over there and try and perform, because here again, they're a great organization that had won before. So this was my first opportunity at trying to figure out whether or not I was as good as I thought I was, or as good as people thought I was. And fortunate enough for us, in 1982, we went to the World Series, and we played a Milwaukee ball club that they were called Harvey's Wallbangers. You know, they hit over 225, 230 home runs as a team. And the first two games, it didn't look very good for us, because I think the first game we lost 11-0 or something like that. But we hung in there, and we battled, and we were able to beat them in a 7-game series, and we won the World Series in 1982. And then we had the opportunity to go back again in 1985, where we lost in 7 games to Kansas City on the call at first base. And then we had a chance to go back again in 1987, where we lost to Minnesota in 7 games. So for me, in 19 years, I had the good fortune of playing in 3 World Series, having the opportunity to go to 3 World Series. And for some guys, they played 20, 21 years and never experienced that. So I consider myself very fortunate that I've had the opportunity to experience it. And trust me, there's nothing like it.
Absolutely. And you got one of the rings out of it. And yeah, we had Orlando Cepeda in here a couple days ago, and he was the same. He had 1 out of 3, and still with the Giants organization, so he was wearing one of the newer, fancier ones. Didn't think he could
the big ones,
lift up his arm.
Diamonds,
But and of course, you were honored at the end of your career, getting your number retired. And what did that mean to you for, getting your number retired by the Cardinals and all your experiences with them?
Well, here again, it's all about taking advantage of an opportunity when it's presented. And for me, it was just about going out and doing what I love to do, and getting paid for it. I got compensated
$5,000
to do what I love to do. So getting your number retired, I think it puts you in a very special class of people. And in the class of Stan Musial, Lou Brock, Bob Gibson, Red Shanedeeps. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I've had a real blessed life. To have had the opportunity that I've had.
Well, and we feel blessed just having been able to share those memories with you and watch you. So thank you again for
thank you.
All of that. Now, I definitely want to open up